AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Alldus podcast, continuing with our ServiceNow series. I'm your host, Ben Sparks, and today we are lucky to host not one but two leaders from HGC Technologies, Noel Nathan and Hichem Guemiri. I will let them both talk more about their roles and accomplishments. However, Noel holds the position of VP of Partner Alliances and Strategic Advisory, and Hichem holds the position of CEO at HGC. Both are experienced in the world of ServiceNow and wider digital transformation space. The organization has a focus on service management, asset management, and operations management. Both have held positions of a strategic nature and also very client-facing. So I'm super excited to hear more from them. HGC are a ServiceNow Elite Partner focusing on simplifying innovation, and they specialize in ITSM, ITOM, and ITBM. And for those that are not already following them, you can follow them at their hashtag #WeAreHGC. In today's conversation, we'll be covering a range of topics. However, it will be focused on being poised to transform, looking at digital transformation and ServiceNow trends. And the highlights that they're going to be able to give you are some advice for up-and-coming professionals in the ServiceNow and wider digital transformation market, their SODA initiative, which I'll let them talk a little bit more to, some wider digital transformation trends, general learns and advice that they've seen on their journeys, and where they see the future of ServiceNow going. So guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Ben.
So let's talk a little bit more about you guys. Let's tell our listeners who they're listening to at the moment.
Sure. So I'll start and I'll pass it on to Hichem. So my name is Noel. I'm the VP of Partner Alliances and Strategic Advisory at HGC. I was one of the first to be involved in helping build HGC from the ground up. I started at the service desk for like an IT outsourcer company. That was kind of like the start of my career. And eventually I moved into several internal consulting roles with various companies, and then external consultancy with HGC when Hichem and I connected, I think back in 2018. We connected, and that's when I started becoming an external consultant, working with Hichem and building HGC.
Nice. And Hichem?
So my name is Hichem, or Hichem, as I'm called in the US. And I'm the CEO and founder of HGC Technologies. We are, as you said, an elite partner based in Montreal, Quebec. However, our clientele is throughout the US and also Canada and Europe. We provide advisory services exclusively on the ServiceNow platform, as well as managed services and implementation of different modules, especially anything around ITOM, IT asset management, IT operations management, IT service management, and SecOps. And also, we have built over 30 business applications, helping our clients digitalize and take full capabilities of the ServiceNow platform, moving away from basic IT service management to a full-blown integrated experience, thus improving their operational productivity by minimizing the cost, the overall cost of running such a great platform.
Nice, excellent. So when we first spoke, we discussed being poised to transform. We'll talk a little bit about sort of clients' implementations, but first, look, what advice do you have for the marketplace? And I'm really kind of thinking of ServiceNow professionals, consultants, architects that are sort of starting to come through the ranks of the consulting world. What advice do you give if you could play some experience forward?
The market is ripe for anyone kind of looking to jump into ServiceNow, right? The real element that's only needed from participants or people that are looking to jump into ServiceNow is time. There's plenty of resources that ServiceNow provides. There's the community website, the newly created Now Learning website, which has a ton of content for free. So there's a lot of stuff that people can just take the time, absorb what ServiceNow is providing for free, and even jump into it and be able to excel in terms of their knowledge and their experience. There is one unadvertised criteria, however. It's that you get ServiceNow it provides you a solution, right? But the understanding how to use that solution, the technical solution, to drive or to resolve enterprise challenges and help the enterprise go from where they are to where they want to be. That is one area that I think is something that probably some of the researchers that we've come across that don't understand that, right? So just to kind of give you an analogy, it's like knowing how to drive the car, but not knowing what the car is intended to do, right? So you could buy any car you want, but not knowing what you want to use the car for is probably one of the biggest challenges that I've come across with resources or people that are looking to jump into ServiceNow. So I don't know, Hichem, if you want to share some insights into that.
I think the summary you have put forward, Noel, is interesting. So, Ben, the idea here is ServiceNow as a product today, came 10 years ago, and ServiceNow is evolving. So when we look at platforms are ever changing. So the same thing we were doing 20 years ago, we do today, but as we call in the cloud, or somewhere that we don't know. But in reality, the cloud in itself is just someone else's data center. We just don't have to worry about it. Correct? Now it's someone else's problem. So my feeling, to add on what Noel said, why I think ServiceNow is interesting, it's because they are the first who, a couple of years ago, back in 2015, they provided the community a way for free to access a development instance, a full development instance. And that was the first time I've seen that. And that's when, as an independent consultant at the time, with not enough means, I was able to get myself hold of one of those instances and learn the platform and write a book and then, build a business and grow that business. So there's a Turkish saying, it's never too late to turn back. So whatever distance you went. So today, and I think the idea of this podcast today is not to push HGC, but the idea is to share our experience, failures and lesson learned. So anyone who's listening to this today can make a U-turn and can jump into something like ServiceNow with the community sites, with the development instances for free, with the new training material. Anyone, anywhere, anytime can become a ServiceNow expert, or anything else for that matter. You just have to commit. I think that's back to you, Ben.
No, and I love that, and I think never too late to turn back is a great saying. I've actually probably never heard that before, and it is interesting as we're going through these conversations. So much of it is, yes, the technical piece, but also it's that value it's bringing. And I think that car analogy is great. Looking at what the business needs from this and what it can do for you, versus just getting blinded by the technical lights sometimes. So I think that's some great nuggets there of information. So, being poised to transform, looking at a client perspective now, obviously you guys are in front of clients a large portion of your time. What do you start seeing with your customers? And I'm thinking more like trends and sort of and areas like that in the market.
Yeah, so what we're seeing with our clients, a few years back, we thought ITSM was kind of like, dead and gone, so to speak, in the sense that every client has already adopted it, and they've started using it. But what we realized is there's still a good segment of clients that still have not got ITSM to the point where they're reaping the rewards or the value from using the ITSM or ITIL framework, right? Or using ServiceNow to execute on that. So what we're helping a lot of companies is to kind of lay the foundation, and we see ITSM as kind of like the bread and butter, right? So it helps organize the IT side of things And then once you get that foundation in place, along with the technical solutions, the processes, and the governance required, then you start to kind of move into leveraging ServiceNow to the broader enterprise. And ServiceNow has done a great job, starting from ITSM, going into ITOM, and now with business applications and having a SAM solution and an application portfolio management. So that's the kind of trend that we're seeing with a lot of our clients, is they want to get the ITSM foundations laid down well. And Hichem can talk a bit more about how CMDB is so vital to that. Once you get that in place, then kind of proliferating and moving into the other segments is the areas that we're seeing a lot of our clients trending towards.
So thank you, Noel. So let me add to this, Ben. The idea here is that when we say our clients are poised to change, so we've seen it with the pandemic, correct? So many clients, they were working on site. So we did lose clients at HGC because we refused to put people on site. So that was against our culture. So we're like, you know what? We don't sell bodies, we don't sell staff augmentation, we sell services. So that was one of the things that we changed, and that's a valid point for people selling, staff augmentation. But for us, because we were growing as a startup, we did not have enough people or enough resources. So basically, we decided to sell services instead of staff augmentation. And what we see with the pandemic, it forced people to rethink. So many companies were not ready to have their workforce work remotely, or even accept that their people are actually working and not watching, soccer during the day. I know Noel does sometimes, but he still has his computer on, because of the time difference between Europe. So why companies are poisoned? Because we don't know what to expect in the evolution of the world today. And companies are poised to embrace change. So what we see today, we see a lot of paper still. We see people working on site. That changed. All of a sudden, people had to quarantine, no more traveling. So society is changing. We're not saying that, people will not go back to work in offices. We are social animals. So remember, as human beings, we are social animals. No product, no automation will ever replace the human aspect. At least I hope so, even though as a big science fiction guy, fan, I hope that will never happen. So we always have the human aspect, the people aspect, as we call it in the 3 Ps. So people, process, and product, or today, as we call it, platform. So the people aspect. So why are we poised to change? The experience that we have in our day-to-day with our mobiles, it's not reflected in the experience that we have when we go to work. So today, at our fingertips, we have a mobile. We have, I use iPhone for the last 10 years. So, the iPhone is evolving, the experience we have. So I don't have a camera anymore. I have my phone. I do everything on my phone, correct? I check my emails. I do my work. I can be anywhere. But then we turn around and we go to work, and we are still working with obsolete applications. We are working in Excel. We are working with paper. We are not doing, digital signature. And that's what's changing. So the good and the bad of the situation today around the pandemic that we are suffering from a social perspective, because we are social animals. We cannot see each other. We cannot hold hands. We cannot have, share coffee at Starbucks, have, discussions around a nice meal. And that's all gone. So what do we have? We need to improve the way we work. And that's why platforms such as ServiceNow are changing the discussion, are helping customers evolving, are helping us to evolve in the work that we do, and moving from a bad experience to an amazing experience. And that's why, with Noel at HGC, we focus, as you said in the beginning, at what we are calling SODA. So the idea of SODA, or the acronym, is Strategic Operational Digital Accelerator. So, and Noel will get into that.
Yeah, it was totally, Hichem and I, we were texting, and Hichem texted me something, and he goes, soda, and I didn't quite catch on to it. So and he's like, I'm looking for a word. that we can use to get our clients and to get their mind aligned in terms of what they need to do in the organization. Because we see a lot of companies, a lot of our clients come to us and they say, hey, we need help in terms of a roadmap and understand where we want to go from here. So Hichem came up with the SOTA, and as he said, it stands for Strategic and Operational Digital Accelerators. So our offerings have always been atypical, right? So we're always looking to improve and provide better services. To Hichem's point, as he said earlier, we don't necessarily just sell stack augmentation or whatnot. We sell services. So we looked at a system of how we can address backlogs of development and tie those backlogs that clients have, whether it's either documented or in their minds, to transformational outcomes that the entire enterprise is looking to achieve, right? So by doing that, by helping clients do that, we've seen, internally at HGC, we've seen a 90% renewal rate with our clients. Every time we go for a renewal, clients see the value that we're delivering, and they're happy to see that we're able to provide them with that strategic advisory and roadmap services. But we don't simply just sit on our laurels, right? Like, we always try to improve what we are offering. We look at what the industry is providing. We look at where the general trends are, and we also look. We kind of hear from our guys as well, who are on the ground, like our engagement managers, our developers, and we try to get a sense of where do clients want to go from here or in the future. So starting this year, we're releasing the SOTA framework, and it's actually taking your strategic and operational initiatives and helping them being categorized into 4 categories, right? So you have risk mitigation, operational efficiency, user experience, and cost optimization. So these, if you look at anything that an enterprise wants to do, chances are they would fall in 1 or 2 of these categories, right? So once we align those backlog items or those outcomes you're looking to achieve, and we categorize it in these 4 items, then we align them to, we look at where you currently are. We do a maturity assessment of, okay, are you ready to even take this on? Then we ask you, okay, where do you want to be? If you just kind of like, saying, okay, I want to get SAM. I want to get software asset management in place. All right, we assess where you are. We check to see, we all know the technology can do it, but we want to see, is the organization ready to take that on? Because a lot of people think SAM is going to give you, right at the drop of the hat, a complete change in the organization, but it takes time, right? You need to have policies in place. You need to articulate that to the entire organization, awareness and all that kind of stuff. So we see where you are, we assess where you want to be, then we adapt the solution, right? We implement the technology solution, and then we give you time to absorb, right? So we look at all those four elements, and when we give you the time to absorb, that's where we look into your organizational change management, providing training, making sure people are aware of it. So whatever it takes for the organization to kind of absorb that change, and then we just kind of cycle through that all over again. So that's kind of like our SOTA our SOTA framework, and we're beta testing it with a lot of our clients right now. So far, we've released it to 2 of our clients who've given us a lot of feedback, and they like the way we're presenting it. So that's SOTA in a nutshell.
Awesome. It sounds fantastic, and I myself am not technical, but all of that makes complete sense to me. It makes complete sense, and I think really what I liked there was assess where you are. Is your organization ready? And then giving clients the time to absorb really shows there that this initiative is also putting the customers' needs of the business front of mind. That's really cool.
So let me add on that what I call the light version of the drink, correct? So let's have a Coca-Cola light.
Soda light, yeah.
Soda light in this case. So what it means in the end is that let's say I'm a product owner of ServiceNow, correct? And ServiceNow in most cases started in the IT service management space. So people started to install and buy ServiceNow for the ITSM portion. What we see lately with some of the new clients is that they're not buying ServiceNow for ITSM, they're buying ServiceNow for the what is called the App Engine. So Ben, if you're not familiar with the App Engine, it's basically the ability to develop any kind of application, and you buy application licenses, and you can digitalize any application that you have and transform it into ServiceNow. So that's where a lot of clients are going today. And what we see, for example, unfortunately, we cannot name our clients, on this call, but we just refer them as client A, B, or C. So we have a client A who's in the construction business, so the sixth biggest, construction company in Canada, and the first one in Quebec. I guess you can Google it and find out. And they bought ServiceNow a year ago to build an application that is called, 10, 30, and 80%. Okay, so basically today in the construction sites, they manage the projects at, they have milestones at 10%, 30%, and 80%. And they were building this application for about 2 years. So we did the pilot and we built it in less than 3 months. And now you have project managers at construction sites that are able to go into their iPad and connect to a portal. That's easy to use. So there you go. You have the user experience part, correct? Part of what Noel explained as a SODA. So anyone, anywhere, anytime can access through an iPad to their portal and see the status of their assigned projects, in the click of a hand, of a finger, I guess, in this case. And then you have obviously the operational productivity. So no more papers, no more costs, no more, decks. You can go to that site and look at your reports. And you have the cost optimization because now you're optimizing the time that it takes to, follow and manage your projects. And you get the fourth element, which is risk management or risk mitigation in this case, because all your information is in one place, secure, and only accessible to the people who need to access that information. So in this case, you take a small need and you transform. So with that client, now we are into our fourth construction application, and we have automated the entire experience from the moment that you start that construction site or construction job to the end, including management of the subcontractors. And now, that client is moving into doing the opposite, moving into the IT components of ServiceNow, which are, ITSM, ITOM, improving the HR experience. So this is just one example why companies, if we go back to the word we used before, why are we poised to change? Because the experience that we live every day is changing, the way we interact is changing. So we have no choice but to, and that's where a platform like a ServiceNow, moving away from IT, allows you to improve the way people work every day and interact with each other. And we have more examples. Maybe we should schedule a follow-up call where we just share examples of how we are changing the way people interact and work with technology using a platform like ServiceNow.
I completely agree. I think that's a good follow-up podcast there. I think that can be one on its own. So that's a nice segue actually. So obviously, as I mentioned earlier in the call, you're both sort of front on the front line with your executives clients. What advice are you giving to C-suite or executives when they're embarking on this change, right? We know that the product can do these things. It seems like you're putting the client's business first, but what's the sort of the nuggets of information that you're making sure these organizations have in place before they're engaging or during these sort of transformational exercises?
I think it all goes to the way. So we're talking about ServiceNow today. So I think, in my humble opinion, of course, what we see is sometimes a miscommunication between internal stakeholders. What I mean is that the way you bought ServiceNow or it got acquired initially impacts the way that people are making it evolve. I'm not sure if that makes sense. I will explain. Initially, few years ago, ServiceNow started in the ITSM space. What people don't know is that actually ServiceNow did not start in the ITSM space. ServiceNow started as a cloud application development platform, a few years ago. And then when Fred Ludy, the founder, went to get money, seed money, the investors said, you have no use case. What is the use case? People were not ready to build applications on a cloud platform. So basically, he went back to the drawings and developed ITSM on top of ServiceNow. Why ITSM ServiceNow took off? That's a good question. Why did it took off? Where you had the CA Unicenter, you had the IBM Tivoli, you had the HPSM, the BMC, that were already ingrained into companies. The reason why it took off is that most of the number one products, what I call tier one, correct? So tier one, like the major enterprise products, at the time were built open acquisitions. Okay, so basically, ITIL, as we know it, started to take shape and be in fashion early in 2000 in the US, where in England it was it was already there, correct? But as we say, if it's not fashionable in the US, it's not fashionable anywhere in the world, correct?
Very
so
true.
Basically, as soon as it became fashionable in the US, early 2000, the products that existed were not ready to, they were just managing tickets. There were no concept of incident or change or major incident. So we were all speaking a different language back then. So as soon as ITIL came out, companies started to shift. The products were not ready yet. They were, it was very heavy at the time. So I used to work for a major global company, and we had about 100 servers just to run, CA products around the world. And we had 100 databases. So now it was very hard to upgrade. It was very hard to evolve. And every time we wanted to add a new product, it was a different portal. So the whole experience was not cohesive. What ServiceNow did, they built the platform, obviously in the cloud, easy to upgrade, easy to manage. As soon as you sign the contract, it's available day one. And most people say, how long it takes to put ServiceNow in place? And I say, it takes a signature, correct? Because day one, you can use ServiceNow out of the box. It doesn't suit most companies because they have their internal engineering and internal processes to adapt a bit. But the reality is day one, you can use a product like ServiceNow. So it took all of that, and ServiceNow, they built it on the same data model. And we always hear the word a single data model. And that's the most key about ServiceNow, is that it's the same data model that is built on top. So even though ServiceNow continues to do acquisitions, they actually do not integrate. They redevelop the new product or the company that they bought on ServiceNow. So they don't just take a product and have it as a new feature. They actually spend a year to 2 years just re-engineering that product so it continues to be the same cohesive body. It's not pieces that are put together. It's the same frame. And that's what's the important part here. So I'd say, to get back to the question, what if I'm a C-level, what should I do? It's communication between the teams, correct? So if I'm a CIO in a company, I would bring the different stakeholders that reports to me and look at and do what I call a landscape. So where I am, where we are today, where are we today as a company? Where do we need to go, and how should we go there? And some of those gaps will most likely be easily filled with a platform like ServiceNow. And then some other gaps you might have other solutions. But the way that you need to look at a product like ServiceNow or platform, it's that it's the orchestrator of the experience. So if I'm playing an orchestra and I have different instruments, and let's say, Ben, you are a violinist, and I know Noel likes the piano, and Noel is playing the piano. The piano on itself, it's beautiful music, correct? And the violin on itself is beautiful as well. But when you bring all these pieces together, all these instruments, now you have an orchestra, you have a symphony. And that's what ServiceNow is. So to me, ServiceNow is a symphony. And as a C-level, I need to make sure that every part, every player, every musician, they're playing their instrument the right way, in concordance, in alignment with the person next door. And I hope that makes sense, the analogy.
100%. Yeah, no, I like that analogy. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just add to what Hichem said is, when the advice that we give to, or I would give to C-suite, would be to understand, to first look at your process and your process managers and really get them ServiceNow certified, right? And I think ServiceNow has done a great job in the Now Learning platform. And like I said, there's a ton of material out there for free. The personnel being trained on the platform is key, because then it gives them the ability to understand the capability of the platform and what they can use that platform to accomplish for their process. One of the biggest challenges we see is, when we go into implementations, is that the process owners and the process managers, their frame of thinking is predicated on previous systems, and they find it hard to kind of see how that would kind of transpire in ServiceNow, right? So that would be like the first point there, is to get your key process and process managers personnel ServiceNow certified. The second thing is to look at the full potential of ServiceNow and not just look at it from like, a ticketing tool or like an ITSM tool. It's way beyond that, right? I mean, ServiceNow over the years has gone from ITSM to ITBM to ITOM to HRSD, and these are all unique offerings that are predicated in resolving challenges that enterprises are facing, and also helping them go on that path of digital transformation. So really understanding the full potential of ServiceNow is key. The very third thing is, obviously aligning the outcomes to what you're looking to do with ServiceNow, and Hichem kind of touched up on that, is to have good communication with your troops, understanding, what are they trying to do, what is the enterprise trying to do, and trying to bridge that gap, and then looking at the technology solution to see, okay, how can I leverage this technology solution to help me operationally and strategically achieve what I want to get. The fourth point is CMDB. This is so vital. A lot of our clients, or even what we see in the industry out there, is a lot of people struggle with this. And it's one of those things where it does take a lot of time. It's not super sexy to kind of, do the work, but it is the digital foundation that's going to drive pretty much every transformational initiative within the organization. If you look at GRC, if you look at ITBM, if you look at ITOM, the underlying, the common denominator that kind of feeds all of that processes or solutions is the CMDB. And then very last is to have a wow factor, right? So you really got to have a wow factor, and ServiceNow has done a great job with that, with the mobile platform, with the mobile Now app that you can use to do work faster. And of course, for customers, although it might not be applicable in today's times, but once the economy opens up and people are able to go to the office, having that mobile first kind of focus is going to be kind of like a wow factor. So those are the 5 things that I would tell CEOs to kind of focus on, or the CIOs to kind of focus on when they look at the ServiceNow.
Awesome. So, just lastly then, as we're coming to a close, we talked about the wow factor. That's a nice segue again into what's the future for ServiceNow in your opinion? Where's the product going and how's it evolving?
So I'll take this and I'll pass it on to Hichem, because I'm sure Hichem has some views in there. But my thing is, when I look at where ServiceNow is going, there's this big shift into AI and automation and predictive intelligence, right? So ServiceNow has just kind of got onto that bandwagon, and I see the way they're implementing the solutions, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest shifts is automation and predictive intelligence, and kind of using that to tie to our kind of SOTA initiative, right? It's like when clients are looking to automate workflow, that falls into one of our SOTA categories, which is operational efficiency, right? The second thing I kind of look at is a mobile first focus. And with the Paris release, one of the biggest items that was released there was a mobile app. There were 3 mobile apps that were released. There was one for agents, there was one for users, and then you have the employee onboarding, right? I think at some point there will be a cohesive experience where all these 3 might merge, but nonetheless, it's a mobile first kind of focus. The third one is a new user interface. New user interfaces, right? So agent workspace, BCM, there's a whole new user interface there. I think that's going to be kind of like the next big thing in terms of ServiceNow, where they're going. And lastly is the low code initiative, right? So with having to move to production faster with less configuration and less code is going to allow clients to get the value of ServiceNow a lot faster, and also improve the implementation duration for partners. So those are my 4 things. And Hichem, if you want to add to it, or
I think that was a good summary, Noel. I think where ServiceNow is going as a platform is I wish I had a crystal ball to tell you that, Ben. But where I would go is to create a more cohesive and connected experience with the different groups using the platform. So with either HR, SecOps, security, procurement, marketing. So create a more cohesive portal and experience. I think that's something that's a bit missing today. Even though we use the same platform, sometimes it feels like a disconnected experience between the teams. We need to make sure the experience that we face every day is connected and it's seamlessly interactive. And I think that's where ServiceNow should go. Make it easy, for us to create that experience.
This really good insight. So look, we're at time, but is there anything that you guys would like to tell the audience about HGC? Anything that's on the horizon? I know you mentioned earlier about your new cool office space, but anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we go?
HGC today, we are obviously having fun as a ServiceNow Elite Partner. We are moving into a new space, which is a bit counterintuitive with the current situation. Most people are wanting to work remote. We are actually 100% able to work remote, but we are missing, the people element from the equation. So we are getting ready for, hopefully by summertime, the vaccines will be out, and a cure will be out, and we'll be able to get back to the office and organize the events and do our barbecue Thursdays. But more than that, I think the idea is we went from, one person, two people in 4 years ago to 55 today in less than 4 years. It's not about numbers or anything like that, but we are trying to create a good space for our people first, and also for our clients, where we can all evolve from a personal perspective and from a professional point as well. And I can bet that creating a company, running a company, today, personally, I am a different person, and I can maybe even speak about Noel is a different person, from where we first met 4 years ago. So that's the beauty of it. It's an evolution. So where are we going, Ben? Maybe to a better place than today, but definitely a place of fun.
Amen. That's an amazing place, and thank you very much for taking the time. I have no doubt that you guys are growing, and it's going to be a fun time. So thanks very much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you, Ben, for inviting us. It was a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Ben.
Cheers.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.